Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another Maybe Monthly vlog. This is the vlog for September of 2025, which is crazy because I've been doing these vlogs for 2 years. It was July of 2023 that I started doing these. So I've been doing these vlogs for 2 years. I didn't think it was that long. So that's actually pretty crazy. I don't know if I did them every month though, but the playlist says 24. So anyway, with all that said, let's just kind of hop into stuff. As usual, I just want to thank everybody for the continued support. It's been awesome getting the comments and all that engagement. And we're trekking along to 2K. When we get to 2K, we'll do a giveaway. Hopefully we can hit by the end of the year, but we'll see. But aside from that, let's kind of talk about some of the stuff we had this past month, and then we'll talk about some stuff coming up in September and a little bit of October, because October is my favorite time of the year. First off, we did a Marvel Legendary playthrough of Fantastic Four First Steps, so check that out if you haven't. Of course, with all the MCU projects, I like to talk about my thoughts on the project. I'm still thinking about doing Eyes of Wakanda. I don't know if it's going to work out or not. But yeah, and as always with Marvel Legendary, if you guys have any kind of setup suggestions, please tell me in the comments. I love doing your guys' setup suggestions. The one coming up this week is a viewer suggested one, so love doing those. So please tell me if you guys want to see anything in particular. We also did a playthrough of Role Player, which is our 5x5 challenge, so we didn't really do a lot of 5x5 stuff this month. We did, let me see what else we did. We did the two games you guys voted on for July, which were Teotihuacan City of the Gods and Nucleum. Two pretty heavy games. Teotihuacan, haven't played it in a while, but when I got that out, man, I love that game. It's so good. It's still not my favorite T game. Tekhenu is still my favorite T game. And I think Teotihuacan may have, like, with everything open, like with the expansions, everything, it might be a little, like, too much stuff going on. Like, I think maybe without the second expansion, the game would probably be, like, in its perfect size. Like, one expansion's good. The second expansion just seems like a lot more. And it's really not a lot. Like, it really just makes it much more open. Like, it's just more sandboxy, especially because you've got that obsidian that lets you be a wild, so you can, like, do more stuff and kind of take other avenues. Excuse me. But the shaman thing, I'm not, like, the biggest fan of. I mean, it's fine. I think the thing I don't like the most about that, let me say I like the least, because I don't dislike any of it really, but probably the part is I don't mess with, like, the mansion section, the number one building or, like, location very much, and I just don't like dealing with the bot and stuff like that. So anyway, that was a fun playthrough because I think I did, like, I went like a tempo strategy pretty hard. So yeah, so check that out. It did make me wish I kind of had the master set, just because the rule book is all condensed into one book instead of, like, having 3 rule books to flip through. So that's, like, my biggest beef, I think, with expansions in general, is that, like, when there's a lot of stuff and, like, I wish there was just, like, okay, when it's done, here's you can buy a single rule book that has, like, everything all together. I would be a big fan of that. Like, that's the main reason I think I want the deluxe set. I mean, because aesthetically it does look nicer, but it doesn't have anything extra that would, like, make you say, oh, like, I'm missing out mechanically. I think for the most, unless it's, like, promos and stuff, or, like, maybe a couple extra minor things, but overall it's not that different from a mechanical perspective. So we did Teotihuacan, then we did Nucleum, and Nucleum was tough for me for 2 reasons, because obviously it's a very heavy game, and honestly I don't think the game itself, from, like, what you're doing as a player, is that, like, your choices are, like, the hard part, right? Like, ultimately it's you're playing a tile out or you're building a railroad out. And yeah, like, connecting stuff is hard, like, can be kind of cognitively, like, a lot, but, like, I think thematically it makes sense and you just have to follow the rail. The hard part of that is the bot. I mean, truly is the bot. And I think I feel like with Nucleum, I'm at, like, this point where, like, it's going to click for me. And when it clicks for me, it's all going to just fall into place. And so I'm waiting for that point. I haven't even tried the Australian map, which I want to, but it's just, like, it's just so much to, like, run this bot and do all this stuff. And maybe it's not. Maybe I'm, like, putting that on myself, but I just feel like the bot is the part that's hard for that game. But what made it also difficult is I was waiting because my Board and Dice, like, promos were supposed to come, or, like, they shipped or whatever in August, or I was expecting them to deliver in August, and they kept saying they were on track. And I was like, well, maybe they'll get here when I get back from Korea. And I've got some coffee. And they didn't show up. And I'm actually, that's a small anecdote we're going to talk about in a bit. because it's going to affect next month, or this month. Not affect, but anyway. And I didn't get them yet, so I was like, let me just do this. But then when I was also in Korea, a bunch of crowdfunding showed up. Place for All My Books showed up. Reef Project, which isn't crowdfunding, but a game I did order, showed up. All of the South Tiger stuff showed up. The expansion for Raising Robots showed up. And then within the next week, all of this, all of this showed up. Like, hold on, right? So I was like, okay, I got to get this played, because when I do the polls, I typically try to get the video recorded. This is the first time I have it, and however long I've been doing the polls, I get the playthroughs recorded in the month that I put the poll up so that they're ready to rock for the next month, and I'm like, that's my pace, right? Like, get these done, and then next month they're ready to go, so I can just keep going forward, right? Well, I kind of, I pushed that off, and then I'm like, well, I've got all this stuff coming. It took me almost a week to be completely normal from my time zone difference, because Korea is 14 hours ahead of where I am in the U.S. And so, like, it took me a while, so I was like, I'm still jet lagged, but I got to get this done. I had made the mistake of putting it up on my table, and, like, I played through it, and I'm like, I was like, I got to get this played, but, like, I don't know that I'm up here, I'm, like, capable of it. But I was like, I got to get this played. And it's like, I'm not going to put this away to get it back out in like a couple days for something else. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I want to revisit Nucleum, especially because I think when it clicks, it's going to be awesome. So Nucleum, that's a playthrough. Check that out if you haven't. We did, just to kind of go like a quick couple other things. We did a couple Everdell playthroughs for Silver Frost and Far Shore. That was a nice comparison. My Far Shore playthrough was like 25 minutes. It was fast. Great Western Trail, second edition with Rails of the North. God, I love that game so much. Yeah, and then we did a Scythe, Vantage, Raiders of Scythia. So check those games out. The other one I really want to talk about, or more board and dice stuff, is Tianxia. So Tianxia was one of my most anticipated games for the second half of 25. T-game, of course, really cool theme, really cool cover. I actually think thematically, like it's probably one of Board and Dice's more thematic Euro games, and I think it works really well from that perspective. I want to talk about how much, and I talk about it in the playthrough, but the playthrough is very long. But I really want to talk about how much the solo bot is so easy to run. It's incredible. Like, Nucleum aside, Reef Project, which just had a playthrough yesterday, Tianxia, Windmill Valley, Barcelona. Like, Barcelona's a little bit more involved, but not that much more. They've crushed it with their solo modes on these Euro games. Like, they're just so much easier to run. And Tianxia, it's like I guess a heavy game, but it doesn't feel heavy. And I don't know if that's, it's a funny thing because like, that doesn't really feel that heavy to me. Like Scholars of the South Tigers doesn't feel that heavy to me. Ezra and Nehemiah doesn't feel that heavy to me. They just like really work in my brain for how they function. And so like, I have such an easy time playing those games, like understanding, and maybe I've just gotten better with some sort of style of those like middle to heavyweight Euro games. I don't know if like the way like Galactic Cruise is not like heavy. Like everything you're doing feels like it makes some kind of sense that it like makes it to where that carries the difficulty for me, I guess. Where like I guess that's the thing with Nucleum, it just like hasn't, the part of it, my brain that hasn't clicked with it yet, and I think when it does, it'll just be like, here's a game, right? Like, so Tianxia, really cool T-game, very different, doesn't have dice, which is kind of disappointing because a lot of them had dice. I guess Tawans and Suyu, or however it's pronounced, doesn't have any dice, but yeah, like it's so good. Like I was just really blown away by not only how straightforward the like mechanically what you're doing is, but like the fact that the bot was so simple to run. Like 1 or 2 pages and then like all the icons on the back of the book, and that's it. Like it's so easy to run, so easy to do what you got to do with it. Excuse me. Was super impressed by the design for taking such a heavy game, and I put heavy again in quotations, and then making a bot that like works really well it was just cool. So Tianxia, check that out. And then Reef Project. So Reef Project was a little disappointed in myself because I slept on it. And it was a game that like came out last year, I think around Gen Con or at Gen Con, but Windmill Valley came out, and of course Windmill Valley is Danny Garcia, and already a big fan of his from Arborea and from Barcelona. So I was like, okay, like that's my focus is Windmill Valley. I don't know about this Reef project, but you know, whatever. And I saw playthroughs, I saw some stuff of it, but I just wasn't sure. But then I was like, let me just sit down and really like look through this game. And man, it's so good. It's just a really comfortable. It's like a comfort food Euro, right? Like I was playing it and I'm like, it makes sense. It clicks. The actions are very straightforward. You move your boat, you take an action. If you have a card for that thing, you do the card. And if the card either adds to that action or lets you do something more powerful instead. And that's really it. Like you're just moving a boat and playing a card. And then like you'll trigger stuff. And then just like getting to the point where like when you get enough of these little reef balls out, you're just zipping around everywhere. It's just such a fun, I don't know, it's just a fun game. It's fun. So I haven't played it on any of the difficulty modifiers, but we're going to revisit Reef Project very, very soon. So check those out if you haven't. So for September, so kind of coming back to the board and dice thing, so I got the shipping label for my upgrades, and it's just a ton of, it's mostly promos. Like it's promos for Reef Project, for Windmill Valley, for Barcelona, for Nucleum, for Minos. And Minos is another one that the bot's super easy. Forgot about that one. And then I got the upgraded coins for Minos, and I got the achievement stars for Nucleum. And so that was the campaign. That was like a bunch of stuff, right? So then I got the shipping label for it, and I'm like, oh, it's in Poland because that's where they're shipping it from. It'll get here when it gets here, but it looks like it won't get here, for a while. So we'll do the Nucleum playthrough. Well, then of course, if you guys follow what's going on in the United States, obviously with the tariffs, I think it's like called the de minimis. If it's not Latin, right? But and I think that's the word. I might be wrong. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. You guys know what I'm talking about. And a lot of countries have this. It's the thing that says, hey, like if a package is valued under X dollar amount, we're not going to really care about it. Well, the thing for the United States de minimis, which was $800, if it's under $800, we're not going to worry about taxing it and all that, going all that stuff. Well, that was expiring on Friday, August 29th. And so as a result of this thing expiring, so many people outside of the U.S. were like, we're not shipping stuff to the U.S. anymore. Because otherwise it's like a really high, it's like you pay the tariff price on it, and by you, it's it coming in, so us, like Americans. Or if a publisher, I guess, could like, I don't know, do something. But basically that, you pay the tariff price or, and I apologize if I'm not completely accurate on this, but it was to the effect of, there's paperwork. If the paperwork's filled out, you pay the tariff price of the country of origin. And if it's not, or they choose not to fill it out, the sender chooses not to fill it out, you pay either $80, $160, or $200 as like a flat fee. That was what I understood. So there were several packages that shipped from Poland for Board and Dice, and Board and Dice put this up, that came and then we're going to hit the U.S. after the de minimis thing went away. And they were like, we don't know what's going to happen. And so luckily my stuff hit the U.S. on August 27th and currently is in St. Louis. I'm in Kansas City as of this morning. So I will get that stuff very soon. So I was fortunate enough to get my stuff sneaking through before that went away. So all that to say is that when those promos come, there will be a lot of Board and Dice stuff that we're going to be revisiting in the next couple months, because I want to like play with those stuff and show off those games again. We did one playthrough of Minos. We did one playthrough of Reef Project. I've done only, I think, one playthrough of Windmill Valley. We've done 2 playthroughs of Barcelona. We've done one playthrough of Nucleum. So a lot of that stuff's going to come through, and I'm going to revisit some of those games. And then Windmill Valley and Minos are getting expansions this year, so we'll revisit those again when those expansions come out. But that's kind of the thing, is that a lot of those Board and Dice games are going to kind of you're going to see a lot of playthroughs of some of those Board and Dice games from the past couple years. And then when those 2 come out, there's another Nucleum expansion, and Thabia is coming out, which I'll likely get from Board and Dice as well. That's their second T game this year. So that anecdote aside, I should be getting a lot of that stuff. What else is coming out this month? So we have, so you can see here, a ton of stuff got delivered. I've already recorded my playthrough of Wayfarers of the South Tigris with the Tides of Trade expansion. It's body of books for scholars, and I don't remember the Inventors expansion. But I've got the Wayfarers playthrough up, or it's on my, I have to just post it, like it's on YouTube. I just have to do it. But that playthrough's coming up very soon, and we'll be trickling those in as well. I've got to do Scholars next. Scholars, from what I understand, because everybody's delivering at a similar time, Scholars is the one that adds like the most juice, basically. So I'm really excited to play with it because Scholars is my favorite of the three. And then Inventors adds asymmetric player powers, and it like I think knocks a round off, but you get asymmetric player powers. And then Wayfarers effectively adds a there's a couple other things in there, but it mostly adds the ability for your workers to have special powers. So like you can create your dice and make your dice have certain symbols or give you discounts or whatever. Your workers now can do those things. So it just adds an extra layer of like, okay, I can place these tiles on my workers. My workers can now, every time I place my green worker, it gives me, like, I think the game I had, it gave me, at least one of the games I played, if not the one I recorded, but a different one, it gave me influence in blue and black. Like, I played a green worker, there's 2 influence. And it was just like, cool, like, that's awesome. So it just gives you more options, and it's a natural fit into the expansion. Like, it's not that much harder to kind of take in from a mental perspective, and the bot doesn't change, with the exception of there's an extra card that gets added to the deck that they just get an extra thing on one turn, and they will there's a new like area influence of the of a red like temple thing or whatever, minaret, and they'll add some stuff there. It's very minor additions to the solo bot, so it makes it to where like most of what is new is just for you as the player, so super cool. So yeah, so I've got those kind of. I mean, I have playthroughs of both Propolis and Point City or Point Galaxy. I'll probably do a Point City one at some point just because I've got Point Galaxy, but I've got playthroughs of these all ready to go as well. The playthrough for Propolis is like about a half an hour, but the Point Galaxy one's like 15 minutes, so it'll be a pretty quick game. But I got playthroughs of those coming up. Luthier is also on my docket to get done in the next couple weeks because this is one of my other most anticipated games, so I'm very excited about this. Did an unboxing of it a couple days ago, so check that out. Just kind of tearing the box open and seeing what the box looks like on the inside. So Luthier should be coming up pretty soon, maybe after the South Tigris stuff. We'll see. Neko Syndicate is actually one I'm super excited about. I didn't really know much about this game. It just said Danny Garcia and said 1 to 4, so I bought it. It was very, very cheap, but I watched a playthrough of it. It looks awesome. So I'm very excited about this. Like, I think this is like a quote-unquote filler game, but it's like pretty meaty. It's like a pretty like middleweight sort of, or heavier like filler. It says filler. I don't know if it's really filler. I mean, it's got a lot going on in this game, so I'm really excited about this one. This is my third solo game of the month game. The first 2 I have were the Cursed Castle and Rome, but both of those games I haven't even played yet because I don't want to play things without sleeves, and I don't have sleeves for them. But whenever the upgrade for the Rome box comes, it has sleeves for. I think I got enough for both games. But this one has like normal like size cards, and this is supposed to be like kind of like a light Slay the Spire, and they changed the box for this, which is nice. So I'll probably be doing a playthrough of this very soon. I'm very excited about this one. It's a deck builder. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one actually. Knitting Circle, kind of in line with like Cascadia and Calico, and then it's the sequel to Calico, so we'll be doing some of that. And then more Final Girl. This won't come till October, so we'll do some Final Girl stuff in October. I'm going to bring back, I did this a couple years ago. We did Final Girl every week in the month of October. We're going to bring that back. I just think I might do that traditionally. There's so much Final Girl stuff, and I could do Final Girl every day or every week for ever, and I'd have unlimited combinations of all the content. So we're going to bring Final Girl back for October, so we'll see that come up, but that'll be for that. Yeah, and then of course, so there's a lot of stuff going on. We've got a lot of stuff going on. The poll that you guys voted on, this was actually pretty crazy because it was pretty like even. So the poll you guys had voted on was, so it was Ark Nova, Distilled, Expeditions, and Wondrous Creatures. Distilled got 20%, Expeditions got 21%, and both Ark Nova and Wondrous Creatures got 30%. So probably the closest poll I've done for games. Usually there's like a game or two that's like a complete blowout. But this one's pretty even. So we're going to be doing playthroughs of Ark Nova and Wondrous Creatures. Wondrous Creatures playthrough is going to be with one of the scenarios, because I haven't tried those yet, so we're going to do one of those. And then Ark Nova is just classic Ark Nova. I played a lot of Ark Nova actually on my way to Korea because it's on it's like digital now, and I played a ton of Ark Nova on the plane because I was on one plane for 15 hours. But yeah, so with that, but actually when I played it mostly like multiplayer, because like I played against AI's multiplayer, because I never played Ark Nova multiplayer, so that was an interesting way to play the game. But yeah, so that means that for this month, I've got a lot going on here, but I still want to do some polls for October. So October is going to be just space themed is what I've decided. And the 4 games for that are going to be Circadians, First Light. We've only done one playthrough on the channel, so I think it'd be fun to revisit that. I really want to get out Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, so that's going to be the second one. So Circadians, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Golly, what were the other 2? I'm trying to look around to see what they were. Oh, Legendary Alien Encounters, because I'm really enjoying Alien Earth, and that'll give me an excuse to get that out. So Legendary Alien Encounters. And then the last one, I think we were going to do Apiary. So Apiary. So those will be the 4 games to choose from. They're kind of a mix. They're not anything heavy. I thought about doing like Andromeda's Edge and Galactic Cruise, but they're kind of bigger games, and I have a lot of stuff to focus on for this month to record. So some games that are pretty relatively easy going. Plus, with Apiary, I got the wooden bees, so I'd like to share those on the channel. So those are the 4 games. I'll put the poll up later today, and you guys can vote. But those are going to be the 4 games for the month of October. So yeah, so let's just kind of get into it. Let's talk about Korea a little bit. So earlier in the month, in August, I went to Korea to visit my sister. My brother flew from where he lives. We met in Minneapolis, and then flew from Minneapolis to Incheon, which is outside of Seoul. The Incheon airport is like Seoul, but it's like to like middle of Seoul. It's like an hour in or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, the flight from where I am to Minneapolis was really easy because it's not very far. But the flight to Incheon was crazy because this volcano erupted in Russia, and they had to like change the flight path because it was crazy, like because of like you can't fly through volcanic ash or like tear the plane up. So we had to take a longer route. It was only an hour longer, and when you're sitting on a plane for 14 hours, what's an extra hour? Trust me, it's a lot. And it was crazy because we left Saturday afternoon. No, I'm sorry, we left Friday afternoon and got there Saturday night. It was crazy. It was such a weird time warp. But this was my first time visiting a foreign country. Well, second time technically. I went to Canada in like, I don't know, 2008, and we drove, so kind of didn't count. But it's the first time I had to use my passport for anything. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I'm a quarter Korean. So like my grandmother was Korean. She's passed away, but so it was. I had felt this very profound sense of, I don't know. It was just a really special feeling when I landed and got to touch Korean soil. It was just a really, I don't know. I got very emotional because it was just, I've never, like I'm also Pakistani, so like I've never been there obviously either. So like it's just it was very, very emotional for me to be where like my grandmother raised me as well. So that's also the part of it. Like it just was very, very emotional for me to be there, and it meant a lot for me to be there. So it was such a cool place. So we stayed in Seoul, pretty close to a subway station, and I just want to talk about, like, first off, their public transit is incredible, and it makes me wish we had something like that in the U.S. I think logistically it's much more difficult in the U.S. because we have to, first off, care about that infrastructure, and I don't know that that's something that we really care about just because of how big the U.S. is. Like, from geographically speaking, the U.S. is just a very wide open space, and Korea is very densely populated. They build up and down. They don't have to build out like a lot. They utilize their square footage very well. But the subway was incredible, very easy to navigate, very easy for someone who doesn't speak Korean to get around. They have instead of using Google, they use this thing called Naver. So then they have Naver Maps that are Google Maps, and that tells you, if you want to go somewhere, it tells you how to get there, all the public transportation options, the time it takes to do all of them, the one that has like the fastest, the one that has the least amount of transfers, the one that's like the least amount of walking. If you want to do a combination of bus, subway, or both, or individual or both, what a taxi, and all of the cost. It was incredible, amazing. Truly amazing. We did a lot of sightseeing. It rained about half the time we were there, unfortunately. Had a lot of food I shouldn't be eating because I should be eating like noodles and things like that, but I ended up eating a bunch of stuff just because I was there. And and went to a Gundam base, two Gundam bases, went to a bunch of the temples were really cool, went to the Lotte Tower, which is like the 6th tallest building in the world, and I'm scared of heights, so that was crazy. Yeah, just a really cool place. We went to the DMZ, which is a huge thing, so the Demilitarized Zone. It's the place between South and North Korea. So we went to do that. I actually bought this North Korean note, 500 won, and I put it in this thing. It's actually like really nice, like in terms of like being crisp bills, and they only get these when people come through, so it doesn't happen too often, obviously. But yeah, thought this was kind of neat and bought this. This is apparently this is a currently used note in North Korea, so that's a current 500 won bill in North Korea. But that was kind of a trip to see North Korea from where I was, because it's North Korea. It's just wild to see it from where I was, like geographically very, very close. I've got pictures. I didn't put anything on my computer from my phone, so I don't have anything like to show. But yeah, a lot of stuff from there. So yeah, it was really cool. I think my biggest takeaway, it was just really special for me to be, that was the first place that I got to go to, having a passport, and it being the place of like my maternal figure that raised me. Like, it was just a very, very, very special moment to be there. So yeah, so I really want to go back. I'll probably have to wait a little bit, because it was just, the trip was a lot. The plane ride back wasn't too bad, because I went to Seattle, and that was about 9.5 to 10 hours. That wasn't bad, and that was also a crazy trip, because I left Korea at 7:20 p.m. Saturday night, and I landed at home in Kansas City because of a delay, but I landed at home in Kansas City at just after midnight Sunday morning, because there's a 14-hour time difference. Like, I left at 7:20 p.m. Saturday night and traveled east to Seattle and landed in Seattle at like 1 p.m. Saturday during the day. It is such a weird time warp. And this is obviously the first time I go through customs, and so like I brought back snacks, and like one of the things I brought back was beef jerky, and they're like, yeah, you can't bring that back. So I had to like throw it away and like go through my stuff. So that wasn't fun either. But now you know. So yeah, Korea was great. It's a really special place, and I think it's such a cool city. Seoul was such a cool city. I'd like to travel other places, so that's the other thing I'd like to do when I go there next time. Because Seoul was a lot. It was like the New York, I guess, that compared to New York, like the New York City of Korea, or of Asia even really. So like, just a lot of nightlife, a lot of people like, drinking and having fun at night and karaoke and stuff. And that's like not really my deal. I like to go to bed early. But it is what it is. So that was Korea. Really enjoyed my time there. Yeah, I'd like to go back someday. So, that aside, let's talk about kind of the main topic, which we're pretty late to this video. So, considering all this crowdfunding showed up, and a lot of them were expansions, it really made me think about relearning games. And so that's something that I think I'd like to know how you guys relearn games that you haven't played in a while. So, of course, Nucleum and Teotihuacan were games I hadn't played in a while, so I had to relearn those. The South Tigris games, Inventors, I'm going to have to go back and relearn, because it's been a while since I played it. I played a lot of Wayfarers and a lot of Inventors that I was surprised, actually, by when I pulled up Wayfarers and got everything out with the expansion. I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Like, I double-checked the rule book when I was questioning myself, and I was like, wait a minute, no, like, I'm right. And I was really surprised by that, because I have played it like almost, I think, 20 times now. I was like, oh, like I've played this enough that like it's fairly internalized. Inventors, I haven't played that many times. Let me see how many times I've played Inventors. And I haven't played Inventors, I don't think, since I don't think I've played Inventors since it released last year. Let me check real quick. And so I'm going to have to go back and relearn Inventors. And I think I've played Inventors 10 times. I've only won 2 out of 10. Okay. And it's one of those things where I think like once you get going, it all starts to come back. But some games I can just pick up and like it's a breeze, right? And obviously that's like a rules thing, right? Like the more rules there are, the harder that is. So what I like to do when I go back to relearning a game, funny enough, like 50% of the time, if I have a playthrough of it on my channel, I don't like watching it. But I also don't like watching my own videos. Like, I don't like, it's one of those things where people don't like the sound of their own voice. So I'll go try to probably find another solo playthrough to refresh some things. What I typically do is I'll get the game out, I'll reset it up by the rules, and I'll start just like seeing if I remember how to start the game. And once I get the game going, it's usually fine. But sometimes I'm like, okay, like let me just make sure all this other stuff. Like with Nucleum, it was a little bit more, so I went and watched a playthrough, and then I played the game a couple times, obviously before I did the video, just to kind of like get all that stuff going. But like Wayfarers, I got that out, and I'm like, oh, I remember this game, and I just was going. So it was really nice to kind of just pick that up and go. So it really depends. I will, of course, refresh the rulebook, but I don't know if there's anything you guys do. Are there any, like, do you guys, like, write a note card with some, like, things on there? Do you guys just remember it? Do you guys pick the rulebook up and reread the rulebook? What are your methodologies of going back and relearning a game? Because it's one thing to do it. Like, it's a really weird thing, right? Because typically, when I go to, like, pull a game out I haven't played in a while, I'm going to play it more than once, right? Because obviously, if you're going to go through all the trouble of, like, I need to relearn this, I don't want to do it for one play and then put it away. So I play it more than once. And so then it's like, I don't know. So I'm just really interested to know how you guys relearn games that you haven't had in a while. And with that, on top of that, how do you guys learn games? And that's another interesting topic, too, that I could be expounding on a little bit more. But obviously, with the big flood of games, you're like, oh, okay, well, what are we going to do here? How are we going to learn all this stuff? And it really kind of depends on the game, I think. So, like Tientia, I watched the Paul Grogan playthrough that he did, his, like, tutorial playthrough to learn the game for the most part. And then I've, like, obviously used the rulebook to reference a couple things here and there. But I watched his thing to learn the game, and then I read the solo rulebook because the solo rulebook was 2 pages to do that. Very simple. I like Everdell Silverfrost. I just read the rulebook and played it. Right, like that was just like read the rulebook and played it. And I think that was more because there weren't any solo playthroughs of it, so I was like, well, I'll just read this and do that. So it kind of really depends, right? Like what's available as a resource. And I think the other thing too is something that I personally used to be very adverse to is reading rulebooks because they're just long and boring and it's like blah, blah, blah. It feels like blah, blah, blah. Part of it's because my brain is stupid, but, I don't want to read. And then, but, obviously when you read more, it's like, oh, it already makes sense, right? Like, I think, like, oh, I'll just keep reading the rulebooks, and then the rulebooks all start to, like, oh, I can do it easier. So now it's like, okay, the rulebooks are fine, right? Like, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal to read a rulebook. So I think it's like it kind of depends. My thing is like what resources are out there for me to learn this game, and then how do I supplement what's unavailable? And I guess that's really how I approach it. And it really is a game by game basis, particularly on the weight. I think the less complicated the game, the rulebook is probably like the more I'm more likely to use a rulebook as my learning mechanism than like finding a tutorial online or something like that. So anyway, this is already long enough, my rambling. But let me know what you guys, how you guys relearn games, and maybe just how you learn games in general. Sorry, my wrist is being funny. And I'd be really interested to know like your methodologies, and maybe I can learn something from you guys on that. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for the continued support. Thank you guys, for checking out the videos, and I feel like you guys have been really excited about a lot of stuff I've been doing, and it's made me really happy and excited about a lot of that stuff too. And yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. More games to come. Too many games, actually. And before I go, can you tell me what this animal is? Because I think this says respect the locals, and every animal on here is real, and I think this is a jackalope, and they're not real. Because I had to make sure. I don't think they're real. So tell me what animal this is. Right here. Alright, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.